welcome everybody. We are on the second day of the Hour of Code Week. During Hour of Code Week, we, the faculty here at SPHS, that's a mouthful, try to bring in both the experts in the field, such as Dr. Gary Cantrell here, who is a professor at Northeastern University where I'm taking some classes, and we also try to get some other activities for you to learn about. The goal of this is to help expose you to computer science in different ways and forms that you might not get in your normal everyday classes, and to encourage you to take some of the CS classes we have here at the school. So, please listen in. This is a really cool expert who has some really cool experiences to share with you, and I'll let him take it away.
So, hold on, Brian. For starters, how many people think I should pass Brian in classes this semester? Oh,
jeez.
How many people think I should fail him this semester?
Oh, don't raise your hand.
Oh my gosh, how many people just don't care? Oh, okay, all right, thank you. All right, can you hear me in the back? Yeah, I normally don't need a mic. How are you? I'm Gary. Who are you?
I'm Leah.
Hi, Leah. How are you? Who said they were Leah? Who else?
Hi, I'm JJ.
You who?
JJ.
JJ. How are you doing?
Good.
Ben.
Ben? Hey, Ben. How are you? Wow, Ben. Like your hair is like a foot up here. Man, how do you do that?
I don't know.
That's awesome. That's how you wake up?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Cool. Who are you?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
What's your name?
FTMU.
I can't say that. Say it again.
FTMU.
FT Mule?
Yeah.
All right, good enough. All right. So why is my Steam account coming up here? Oops, there we go. I'm Dr. Gary Cantrell. Most of my students call me Dr. G. A lot of them call me Gary. I'm a computer science professor at the RU, which is a satellite of Northeastern University in downtown. Focus. I'm from the deep south. I moved here from Utah. So I sort of, bang around all over the country. I do research in core computer science and security, and I've done a lot of work in digital forensics. And I'll talk for a little bit today. I'll share some more stories if you'd like to hear them. But mostly, I'd like questions. So, if you've got a question about something I'm talking about, please, please wave at me and ask it. Let's see. I'm also a super nerd, and I own 2 cats, and that's one of them. See, college professors were weird. We could just put basically anything on the slides and be like, "Hey, this is something I want to share today." This is Jester. Anybody watch Critical Role? Couple? This is I named Jester off Jester from Critical Role, just so you know. All right. So my understanding is you might have some interest in computer science, or sort of the goal here today is to maybe help you explore some computer science interests. And that is a huge world. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, or try, at least. The great thing about computer science is that it's a generalist field. It really is. So we get to do just like a little bit of everything. Right? So in computer science, you can go into like artificial intelligence. If you want to do some AI stuff, that's cool. If you go into some bioinformatics, how to use computers to model different things in the medical field to get information. We've got cybersecurity, if you want to be more on that side of things, which is a good time, a very happening field. We've got data science, we have digital forensics, education, game development. How many of y'all are gamers? What you playing right now? Several things. I'm making my way back through Stardew Valley.
Good game.
Good game? All right. You go to the military, focus on networking. Be a scientist. I've worked as a government scientist for the Army, for the Navy. For the Air Force. I've done a lot of work there. You can do the software development if you want to code. Software engineering if you want to be more on the managerial side of things. system analyst, or web development. I mean, computer science is this huge, huge just agglomeration of things. And that's why I like it, because, you know, I can't sit still for long doing one thing. I gotta go do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, kind of like Brian. So computer science is a great field if you do have the interest. But what's my area, you might ask?
What's your area?
Oh, thank you for asking. What I do is digital forensics. Well, that's my specialty. Digital forensics, software engineering, some code development, things like that. What is digital forensics? That's kind of what they asked me to come here today to talk about a little bit. Here's a promo video that I did. So I moved here from Utah. In Utah, I spent about 13 years or so, and one of the things I did out there was I developed a small lab to do digital forensics on small devices, things like cell phones and iPads and things like that. And this was a promo video that we shot many years ago to kind of explain what we do a little bit. It's a tiny bit violent, so I'm sure you'll enjoy that.
Take this palooka down to the station. Come on. You got this. Where'd you get it from? The cancer. Ah. What in blue blazes you expect me to do with it? Take it down to the new guy in the clubhouse. You believe this much?
Well, it's nice to see you.
You must be the new kid. Tell me to bring you this.
So, where'd you get this?
Des Moines. Where do you think? So you waiting for it to talk to you?
Sorry, sir. Let's see what you've got here.
time for pinball.
It's not pinball, sir. I'm extracting the VGA chip from the PCB. Now that I've extracted the VGA chip, this machine will allow me to access all of the information, like text messages or phone calls.
But it's so small.
She just put it in upside down.
Actually, one of the text messages is about a meeting with a fellow named Scarecrow, the junkyard.
Bandit car by. Does it say what time?
Says it's around midnight.
A little over an hour from now. You're alright, kid. Take it.
All right, so people tend to think of, computer science as in, software development, as in sitting in front of a computer and coding all day. But one of the things I'm trying to point out here is that it's a huge field, and we do a wide variety of things. You've probably thought about cybersecurity before, or, at least you're aware that it exists. Digital forensics, what do you think the difference is? What do you think the difference is in digital forensics and in cybersecurity? It's kind of a subfield. It's an area within security, but what do you think the difference is? Yes?
Security seems like it's more like prevention and oh man, and then the other one is more like getting information out of it.
You're absolutely right. Security is about defense. It's about before the fact. Digital forensics occurs after the fact. Okay? It's a lot of fun. We get to hack into things. We do break passwords. We do a lot of things for fun. Within digital forensics, we have civil work. We've got corporate actions, and we have criminal investigations. Civil works, you've got people that do a lot of contract work for like divorce cases and lawsuits and things like that. Within corporate, most of the time, if you go into like IT or security, digital forensics might be part of your job, or it might be something that you actually specialize in. Okay? And there's also like criminal stuff. I've worked with state, with local law enforcement, with federal law enforcement, with just about all agencies that you can think about in taking devices and extracting, doing data recovery, getting the information off them, and then presenting them into court so they can be used as evidence. Any questions so far? Question or just wave it? Stretch. Okay. Zinning now.
I just got here, so.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So within digital forensics, what all are we interested in? Okay. We do collection, preservation, analysis, filtering, and then presentation. Collection, we have to figure out what to take. We have to decide what we're going to get, what might have evidence, what might not. Preservation, we need to make sure that we never change it. We need to make sure that somebody doesn't alter it. What can you do to remotely to a cell phone if you're worried about your privacy? What's that?
Put a password on it.
No, I can get rid of any. I can bypass any password on any phone. Easy enough. What's something else that you can do nowadays, though?
If you don't want him to hack your phone, what could you do?
Not even hack. If you don't want me to be able to get any information after I've taken it. Remembering, I can break any password. Yes? Yeah?
Oh, like a VPN?
No, not even that. A lot of cell phone companies will also have the ability to wipe phones remotely now. You can call in the company and be like, hey, somebody stole my phone, please take it. Well, bad guy can do the same thing. So with collection, one of the first things we do is we take that cell phone and we put it into a special bag called a Faraday bag, which blocks all signals so that nobody can wipe it. We have to worry about all the things associated with somebody remote wiping it, somebody changing it, doing all that kind of thing. Analysis and filtering. If I do data recovery on a Windows machine that's got a couple terabyte hard drive, I'm going to get hundreds and thousands of files back. In Windows, because of the way it stores data, it stores things all over the place. Nothing is ever gone. If you're using a Windows machine, you can pretty much safely assume anything and everything you've ever done on that machine is still there, at least in part. So we get like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of files back. So a lot of what we have to do is go through and we have to do a lot of filtering and sorting and putting things back together so we can get the information that we want. And then presentation. That's a really big part of digital forensics because we've got to explain all this information to somebody who's not technically savvy. Lawyer, jury, people who may not even know how computers work. We have to be able to take everything that we find and explain to them and explain how that it's admissible or not in some cases. The thing is, with computers and cell phones and anything else that you interact with, there's this thing called law cards exchange principle. It was really more meant for like physical forensics, like fingerprints and DNA and things like that. But we use it in computers a lot as well. Basically, it says when two things come in contact, when they're in the same vicinity of each other, there's always an exchange of substances. Okay? This is the base of trace evidence collection at a crime scene. We actually do the same thing with computers. But we look, instead of looking at fingerprints and DNA and things like that, what do you think we check? Yeah?
Digital fingerprints and search history.
Yeah. Search history. What else are we going to look through?
Text messages.
What's that?
Text messages.
Text messages? What's some out-of-the-box thinking as well, though? Logs, GPS coordinates, phone calls made, if we're talking about small devices, on the computer, when somebody was logged on, when somebody was not logged on, all communications. We're going to look at everything.
GPS data,
What's that?
location, where they've been.
Absolutely. If you take a picture on your cell phone, the GPS coordinates for where you took that picture is embedded inside the picture, and we'll use that a lot. For some reason, people who like to, oh, well, okay, this is a little weird being in Maine now, because nobody cares as much, but in Utah, marijuana is not legal. So we would get a lot of people want to take selfies with their plants. Don't know why, but so we would people would bring those in and we would have to pull the GPS coordinates out to say where exactly that picture was taken. Okay. Or somebody committed a murder and they want to put them in a particular city at a particular time. So what do you think we do in that case? Yeah?
Phone's location data.
What do you think the cell phone's location data is? You're correct, but do you think the phone just records GPS coordinates as you're walking along?
Probably not. Maybe it does.
It doesn't, unless you're mapping. So what are we going to pull? Cell towers. If I know what cell towers you hit with your phone, I know what location you're at. Roughly. Roughly. It doesn't matter. If I know that you were in one city and a crime was committed in another, I can prove you weren't there by showing you were hitting cell towers in a city that was 30 miles or 60 miles away.
Or that your phone wasn't there.
What's that?
Or that your phone wasn't there.
Well, absolutely. One of the biggest problems we have in digital forensics is putting somebody behind the keyboard. And that's why often we're considered like supporting information or supporting evidence. We're not often the smoking gun, although there's some stories that I can tell you that I can't right now, of people videotaping themselves actually committing specific crimes. Those were always very helpful. But we pull all that information back. So anything and everything someone's doing on a computer or a digital device or even a gaming system, we can go through and put together. And this is all in the area of computer science. I am a computer scientist. Now, going into computer science, going into STEM, doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a software developer. It's a wide open field. I always like to tell people that I was like, I got to be a nerd and a superhero at the same time. It's great. So, what do we get? Well, we get files that are there, anything and everything that people have saved or done. We get files that are deleted. If you have a Windows machine, it's never really gone. We get file fragments we can put together, emails that were sent, any web history. location information, if they map somewhere, if they use GPS, if they took a picture, that's going to embed GPS coordinates in it. Financial transactions, if they're spending money, we can gather all that information off your computer or off your cell phone and put it all together to get a map of where somebody is, what they've done, and sometimes what crime they committed. So take a second. Think about your activities. Think about your digital footprint. If for some reason, I had to turn it around, but if for some reason I wanted to learn about you and your activities, what would I want to take? What's that?
Search history?
Well, specifically, what physical things am I going to take? Your phone? Absolutely. What else?
Smartwatch?
Your smartwatch? Absolutely. We can pull information off smartwatches. Your car? Yep. Some cars have hard drives in them. What else? Yep.
Like your computer.
Your computer? Yep. What'd you say?
Router, storage.
Sure. I can take your router. I can learn a few things from that. What else?
Your television?
Television? Yep. Televisions have web browsers on them now. What else? Video game system? Fitbit?
Oh, here's one that may be even worse. What about your say if you have like a camera doorbell or cameras around your house, like you'll be able to find the location obviously.
The cameras usually don't store anything, they just stream to the cloud, so I'm going to be more interested in getting a cloud account. But yep. MP3 players, store anything you want to on those, so I want those. What else? Anything?
Echo devices.
What's that?
Echo devices like Alexas.
Yep. Smart speakers. Anything and everything. It's amazing. And that's what we get in the lab, and that's what makes it so much fun. We never knew from one day to the next whether we were going to get a video game system, a TV, a PlayStation, an Xbox, a watch. It was a constant, oh my gosh, it was just so much fun. It was a constant effort to figure out, oh, what do we have? We have here a Google Notebook. What can I figure out from this? So we get a smartwatch. Can I pull the chip off that and get information off that? It's a constant flow of information. Not from me. I said it was y'all, and I said, what can I find out from you? But I mean, honestly, unless it's not like law enforcement or investigators are going to like walk around and randomly take things for fun. These are people that have done something wrong, and that we need to figure out. We need to prove that they did that thing, or figure out what they were doing. So we got computers, we got laptops, anything storage laying around, hard drives, thumb drives, things like that. Well, why don't people use thumb drives much anymore? And back in the day, we were really worried about thumb drives and flash drives. I mean, it was like keychains and necklaces and mugs and sushi and Lego blocks, like things like little thumb drives like everywhere. But nowadays, we don't worry about them so much. Why would that be, you think?
Nowhere to plug them in.
What's that?
Nowhere to plug them in.
Yeah, why is there anywhere to plug them in anymore? It's all cloud storage now. We're more interested in like things like Google Drive and Dropbox and things like that. Yeah?
Thumb drives could also be extremely useful though if you're looking for an external storage device.
Oh yeah, yeah. If we see it, we're going to take it. It's absolutely still useful, but we just don't see them as much as we used to. Gaming systems and cell phones. Where else? Cars, drones, e-readers, tablets, smart speakers, smart watches, Fitbits, pretty much anything that has digital storage. Anything that has digital storage to it can store anything digital, whether it's an MP3 player can store a song, it can also store a picture. It doesn't really matter. We can analyze, we need to, and we analyze all of that. What do you think is the biggest driving? I've kind of hinted at this already. What do you think the biggest driving, force is right now? What do you think what is law enforcement the most interested in taking and analyzing at the moment? Yes.
Cell phones?
Cell phones, absolutely. Why do you think that? Cell phones is the biggest thing. So this lab that I helped design and build in Utah, our specialty was cell phone forensics. And within there, what we did was what's called chip-off forensics, and that's kind of what you saw in the video. We would take the board. So basically, within a cell phone, you have a little chip. That chip is just like a hard drive inside of a computer. Okay? The difference is that chip was never meant to be removed. So it's soldered. It's got metal melted to it between it and the connections. So what we would have to do is we'd have to melt it. We'd have to apply heat from underneath and on top to get to a very specific temperature so that solder would become loose, and then we could pull it off and clean it. The trick is what? What do you think the problem is there? What's going to happen if we get the heat too high? We actually melt the chip. So it was a very, very careful procedure so we can pull the information off. And that was our specialty, pulling chips off various cell phones and doing extraction. That way, if they were dropped in something like a toilet, thrown out a window, broke, or a lot of passwords protection, we could just bypass it completely by pulling the information directly off the chip. But anyway, coming back to the question, why do you think cell phones are of so much interest? I did an experiment. Oh, yes?
We use them every day.
We use them every day, absolutely. Yes?
They're on you all the time.
On you all the time. So I did an experiment one time in my class. Actually, I've done this a couple times. I would go around the room and I would ask all the guys and then I would ask all the girls the same question. And it was the same question. It's like, hey, can I borrow your cell phone a minute? Oh, whoa, well that was weird. Can I use your cell phone? Yeah. I would ask all the guys the same thing. And then I would ask all the girls the same thing. Mostly the guys would always say the same thing. What would they usually say? Back off. Okay. 38.2, 1996. How many of you were born in 1996? Oh my God. I graduated high school in 1996. I need to update these slides. All right. June 2011, there were 322.8 million. In 96, 14% of the population used cell phones. 2011, 102% of the population used cell phones. Now wait a minute. That's over 100%. What does that mean?
People own more than one phone?
That means there's more than one phone per person.
Yeah.
But we've also got like babies and like little kids and stuff, so not everyone has a cell phone, so what's going on? Yep.
People get multiple phones without turning the other phones off.
Yep. You got a personal phone. What's that?
There's 1.024 phones to every one person.
Yep. So people get more than one cell phone. They'll have a work phone. They'll have a business phone. You've got more than one cell phone per person. So there's a lot of them out there. They're very personal devices. What's the top 3 things I would learn about you from your cell phone? What is the top, if I were to take your cell phone and look at it, what were the top 3 things I would learn? 120 seconds. Lean over to your neighbor, discuss this. Talk amongst yourselves. What is the top 3 things I would learn about you from your cell phone?
And you can get past it.
Really? I do.
I can tell you a little bit more about some kids these days. They might not have a lot of apps on their cell phones because all the stuff they need to be happy is usually like one app.
Well,
Like on the web.
I'm not interested in kids. I'm interested in criminals. But what kids are using might be what criminals are using. Maybe some kids are criminals. I don't know.
I don't know. Pretty much my entire
60 seconds. Top 3 things I would learn about you from your cell phone.
Maybe you can like track your friends. And then you can like.
That's normal pattern.
All right, if I could have your focus back. If I could have your focus back, please.
Can I ask a quick clarifying question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of my students or anybody who's willing to admit, can you raise your hand if you've heard of Life 360? Oh my God.
What?
Can you raise your hand if you have Life 360 installed? I'm just curious. I just found out about it. Okay, thank you. I was just, wow, okay, thank you. This is for me.
All right, sir, back row, goatee. What were the top 3 things I would learn about you? There's only one person in the back row with a goatee.
Who you talk to?
You. What's the top 3 things I would learn about you from your cell phone?
Are you Dan? What's the top 3 things?
I'm confused. Who's answering? No, not masked. All the way back row. Glasses on your head.
I said who you talk to.
You. Oh, wait, what?
Who you talk to.
Who you talk to? What's the other 2 things I've learned about you?
What your interests are.
Okay, and number 3?
Where you're at.
All right. What was the top 3 things I would learn about you? Yes. I need a laser pointer.
What type of music you listen to?
What type of music you listen to? Okay.
What app you use the most?
What app you use the most? All right.
And what your interests are?
Interests? Okay. Let's see. How about you? Top 3 things I would learn about you from your cell phone.
My screen time.
Your screen time? Okay.
And my interests.
Okay. Interests. What else? Number 3.
My passwords.
Your passwords. I would definitely want that. All right. What do you think law enforcement wants from a cell phone if somebody's committed a crime? Yes? Where they've been, location, yes? Contacts, who they're talking to, yep. Pictures, text messages, location, all those kind of things. So let's see, there was one of the last cases that I helped work on was a bank robbery in the city that I was working in at the time. We had a married couple that robbed a bank. Okay. The male, there was a male and female in this case. The male went, held up the bank, took the money, was in one car, was supposed to drive to meet his wife at another location, which actually ended up being in the back of my subdivision, which was a little bit creepy. Drop the car off, move into that vehicle, and then leave. Okay? What do you think we took from their cell phones?
GPS.
GPS, where she was actually at, where he was at. Yep.
License plates on the cars.
What's that?
License plates or information about the cars.
We didn't get information from the cars from the cell phones. What? Yes.
Text messages.
Text messages. The text messages and the timestamps were probably the most important things from that case. We actually showed they were communicating. They were trying to set the whole thing up. She was claiming she had nothing to do with it, but we showed that it was all planned out and got the whole plan from that event. It was quite fun. So we pull a lot of things from cell phones. Contacts, calls, speed dials, who they're most commonly talking to, text messages, app information, what apps are using, what information sending back and forth, web history, financial exchanges, navigation, if they've looked for any place particularly to go look up, hey, can you take me to this location? We want to know that. Images, logging, saved files, and files that have been deleted from the cell phone. We take all that information, put it in one place to make a picture of, and figure out whatever it is that we're trying to figure out. You know, think of any criminal crime you can think of. Actually, let's reverse this. Can anybody give me a crime that you think could not leave evidence on a digital device? Yeah.
Muggings.
Muggings?
Because it's as simple as just not having your phone on you.
Well, if we assume they have a cell phone on them. But yeah, I can get location information for a mugger. If somebody accuses somebody of mugging them, I can use a cell phone to see if they were in the vicinity whenever that mugging occurred. Yeah?
Manslaughter?
Manslaughter, communication, state of mind at the time the event occurs, location information, all of that is good to know. Yeah?
If you turned your phone into a bomb and blew up the building.
Well, yes, if the phone was destroyed, I can't get any information out of it.
Yeah.
Well, actually you can. We can get information off burnt phones, off melted phones. The key is whether or not the chip that holds the data is still intact. Yeah?
Only doing black tar heroin.
What's that?
Doing black tar heroin.
Doing black bar heroin? Well, they had to buy it from somewhere. They had to set up the meeting. What's that?
No, they made it themselves.
Okay, well, they could have looked up recipes. They could have taken pictures. What's that?
The DEA just gives out recipes to drugs.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
This is just Daniel. Have you ever been on the dark web before?
I'm not going to answer that question. What would you like to know about the dark web?
It just all stories I've heard just sounds interesting.
Okay, well, what is the dark web?
Isn't it like where you can watch scary videos?
No.
It was
The dark
originally a
web-
military-grade platform that was only used for the military.
Was that?
It was originally a military-grade platform.
Nice conspiracy theory. The dark web, there are a series of web pages out there that just don't have DNS names, that aren't registered as being part of the public web. That's all the dark web is. It's a series of websites and things that aren't registered. Some of them use a particular type of scheme that you need a particular type of router to be able to interpret the information. But it's all still online, it's all still on the network, it's just a little harder to find. Did you have your hand up?
Yeah. Okay, I'll go first.
Right.
Every crime committed by Ted Kaczynski.
Every crime committed by who?
Ted Kaczynski.
Didn't leave digital evidence?
No, he didn't believe in that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of leads to my thing. What if like one Amish person kills another Amish person? I don't think they should leave stuff on their phone.
Oh, Brian, they're worse than y'all are. Looking for loopholes. I meant a specific crime, not a specific incident of a specific crime. Just like murder, not murder by an Amish person.
What about like sending like bombs in the mail to like, because that's what Ted Kaczynski did.
Sent bombs in the mail. You don't think there's any digital evidence that could have been found from that?
Not for his case.
What?
Not for his case.
But in general?
In general, I mean, if someone were to do what he did with his philosophy, then no.
That's a subcategory. You're giving too many everyone that's splitting too many hairs.
Wait, this could be it. Phone theft.
Then I'm going to be able to trace the phone and see who was using it and see when it was used. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Oh, what about breaking and entering?
Breaking and entering, location of the person that was doing the breaking and entering. Communication, calls beforehand, possibly plans, looking up a map and where to break and enter. Scoping out the neighborhood, all that kind of stuff. All right, let's move on from
Just give
this.
us an example.
Let's just move on.
Actually,
Also, from within files, we're going to pull information. If it's a Word document, we're going to see who registered that copy of Word. If it's a picture, I'm going to pull out the make and model of the camera, GPS coordinates for the picture. There's a lot of information inside files that we also gather from cell phones, or computers, or iPads, or anything else. Call that file metadata. We have a lot of specialty software, different connections, different cables. There's not a cell phone that can't be, there's really no password or no cell phone that we can't get into. It's always just a matter of time and whether the amount of time it's going to take is worth that case. But we have a lot of specialty cables, connections, software will run, algorithms that will run on the cell phones to get access and to gather this information so that we can look at it. If the cell phone is actually broken, we can remove the chips, clean those chips up, put them in particular types of readers, and get direct memory extractions from those chips as well. So we have different hardware and software solutions on getting that. It's a lot more to it than that. We have to follow specific procedures. We have to protect them from specific signals so that they're not wiped. We have to do a lot of things to them. But it's pretty easy. Within digital forensics, we have a lot of specialties as well. A lot of people that want to focus on maybe Macs or Linux systems and servers, small devices, video game consoles, servers, networks, and we have data recovery specialists. We can get things back from smashed hard drives, from broken cell phones, from all kinds of things. You just need the right equipment. And the crime sort of needs to be worth the amount of effort to get the information back. Why should you care? It's a fun field to go into if you're interested. If you're into computer science, but you don't necessarily want to do artificial intelligence or bioinformatics or software development, these are options that you can go into, security, forensics, things like that. It's a way for you to be a superhero and a nerd at the same time. If you're going into security, a lot of people want to do like black hat, white hat type hacking. Digital forensics is one of the places where you really get to be a hacker for the good side. It's very challenging. You never know what new technology, what new thing you're going to get in the lab and have to break into. And it's a great way to give back to the community. At some point, you're going to graduate, I think, probably, right? And you're going to be thinking, well, you're going to go to college. What kind of a field do you want to be in? And this is one of your options. Think about what motivates you. Think about what you want to do. A lot of people want to focus on, well, I want to make as much money as possible. Don't go that route. I mean, you can make money at this, that's not what I'm saying. But take a second and think about what motivates you. What do you really want to do? What do you want to, how do you want to feel when you go home at the end of the day? Do you want to be happy that you made somebody else money? Or do you want to be happy that you managed to give back to your community? If it's service that's your motivation, this is one of the great ways that you can do that. Well, what have I done in digital forensics? Well, I was part of 3 founders that developed that lab in Utah where we did a lot of small devices. We ripped a lot of chips off, got a lot of information from different devices. I've run academic programs in digital forensics. I've taught law enforcement for years on how to do digital forensics. I do a lot of digital forensic consulting, and I've done divorce cases and things like that. Really gross.
Did you go to law school?
No. I'm a nerd, man. I'm a computer scientist. I know enough the law not to get in trouble. All right. What would you like to know? Questions about computer science, about digital forensics, about security? My favorite color? Old cases? What would you like to hear?
What is your favorite?
Yeah. Burnt orange.
Burnt
Like Halloween orange. Yes, sir.
Old cases.
Old cases?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I just told you about the bank robbery case. That was a lot of fun. We had one that was a little bit more challenging. Before that, we had a married couple that involved an older individual and a younger individual. They got separated, but not divorced, and then suddenly the older individual's house burnt down to the ground. And law enforcement had, well, what the younger individual didn't realize is that the older gentleman had installed a lot of CCTV cameras. We got the servers that were in the house that was running this CCTV, this camera system in the whole house. They were really gross. They were all covered in smoke. They smelled really nasty. But we took them apart, got the hard drives out, cleaned the soot off, and we were able to get the hard drives to run one last time so we could get an image off them. Okay? So then we had a bunch of video files that we had. The problem was, whenever you're running a video, you have to have a codecs. You might know what a codecs is? It's essentially a translator for that particular video file format. Different cameras, different video systems, they all use different sort of schemes to record the audio and video footage. Okay. The problem was the codecs for this CCTV camera system was proprietary and the company was refusing to give it to us. So I had to go into the server, look at the video files, and figure out a way to translate that video footage from one codex into another codex so that we could then take all the video footage, burn them to DVDs, hand them to law enforcement so that they could view the footage and see whether or not they could find any images of somebody burning the house down. So that was a lot of fun.
Did they find it?
I can't answer that. Sorry. There's a lot of other cases that I can't necessarily talk about. Oh, hold on. Applying filter. Oh, I mean, there was a couple murders where the person actually videotaped themselves committing the murder, so we had to take the phone, extract that video, show the timestamps, and show that it wasn't fake. We deal a lot with underage imagery. That's about 85 to 95% of cases, and that's a big problem. We deal a lot with, let's see, what's another case? This is hard for this audience. We had an individual that was using his Xbox to basically chat up underage girls.
I was going to ask you that, like, you're at the
And we took the Xbox and translated all those texts, put them in formats that could be presented in court. Did a lot of data recovery to pull things out that they had deleted and tried to hide, and presented all that information. Other questions? I mean, I could keep going on story after story, but how something is particularly done, when files can be recovered, when they can't. Any question you'd like to know? Security? Yeah.
Just if somebody wanted to go into this, what should they be looking for post-high school programs?
So if you're interested in this field, feel free to contact me if you have more questions later. This is a subfield of computer security, and there's many paths that you could take. You could go directly into computer science and then specialize in digital forensics. You could also go into information technology if there's a local university that does that, and sort of specialize in security. And then there's some certifications out there that you can get to sort of certify you to use specific tools. But it's kind of all over the board, really. It depends on whether you wanted to work for civil, criminal, or corporate law enforcement as to the route that you would want to take to get certified. Yeah?
What was the fastest case you've ever done?
Well, we had a cell phone come in the lab one time, and it was there for about a day, and then the law enforcement officer showed up and told us not to touch it. So that was pretty quick. We they had managed to get a birth certificate for somebody involved, and they were lying about them being underage. So the case was moved. Other questions? Yes?
What was the worst crime penalty that someone had to be given?
Well, typically if you're dealing with underage imagery, it's 4 to 20 years per picture. So, you know, we dealt with a lot of life sentences for people who were trafficking in that kind of material. Is that a Killer Clowns t-shirt? It's my favorite movie. Other questions? How something's done, security, computer science, whatever you'd like to know. Yeah?
What was the most difficult case you've ever had to do?
The most difficult. There were a couple times, having to apply a filter here, there were a couple times where we found the evidence. It was very clear that the person committed the crime, but because of the situation, the opposing side was refusing to prosecute. So even though they were obviously guilty, we could prove they were guilty, they didn't want to prosecute because they didn't want it to be in the news. Those were always very difficult emotionally. Or did you mean like more technology-wise? Technology-wise, there was a period of time where iPhones boosted their security quite a bit, and we could no longer get into them. So we had a backlog of like a bunch of different iPhones to process that we couldn't until the technology caught up with us enough so that we could get into those iPhones. There's actually a trick where you can actually hardwire. So cell phones, you know, they thought they would be clever, so they made it so that if you put in a password a certain number of times, what happens?
Locks you out.
Locks you out. Well, we can actually open it up and we can wire in wires to specific points on the board so that right before that happens, we can shock the board and reset that count. So getting the password for those involved setting up a machine to guess the passwords, and then right before it locks you out, shock the board so that it resets that count so that we can continue to guess more passwords. And we can get it within a few days that way.
So that's just a brute force.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just brute force.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where you couldn't get into a device due to firewall?
Nope. There is only one cell phone that we could not actually get into, but we had a workaround for it, and they no longer make that cell phone, so we no longer care. Every device, every cell phone is breakable in some amount of time.
What about computer-wise?
Computer-wise?
Because I know there's different ways that people have coded their device, so if you mess with the password too many times, it wipes it.
There's always a way. It's a matter of time. If I've got a dozen cases in the lab and I have a computer that I know it's going to take me a few months to get into, I might try to find another way. I might try to go for a cell phone, or we might get law enforcement to go back to see if they can find some, like a hard drive or something else that we might could use instead. It's not a matter of can you or can't you. It's a matter of whether or not the amount of time it would take exceeds the value that you get from getting into it. And that's the truth in like security in general. If you ever take security courses, you'll learn that it's really all about balance. There is no perfect security. The perfectly secured computer is a computer that's been, put into a 10-foot by 10-foot cement vault, no connections in, no connections out, and dropped down the deepest hole in the ocean. It's completely useless. There is no perfect security. The goal of security is not to keep somebody from getting in. The goal of security is to make it so hard that it's not worth the time and effort to get in. Yeah, Brian?
For my students doing web page design, what do they need to know about designing websites that are secure?
Oh, I don't do a lot of web dev, but on the top of my head, you want to make sure that you put, I don't know how much they know. Are they doing front side and back side?
Front side only.
Front side only?
Yeah.
you just don't put anything on the front side that you can get away with. You make sure that all your security measures are on the back, not on the front. You make sure that you use good practices. You make sure that, can you narrow it down for me any more than that?
Not so much, more like what they should do when it comes to providing their scripts, having it access things from other places to bring in the designs for the page. So like adding fonts, adding links to other spots.
Well, you want to make sure that you have as much local as you can. You don't want to bring in other fonts from other sites or other images from other sites. You want to keep everything local to your server. Whenever you start bringing in things from other places and other sites, you risk those places having web bugs and other things that are embedded in the material that you're doing downloads from. So anything that's front-facing, anything that's facing your clients or your people coming in from the outside needs to be as local as you can get it, and all your security should be on the back end. So we had a case in So whenever I was in undergraduate school, we had a local Papa John's pizza. Do we have Papa John's here in Maine? I don't know. I just moved here. Somewhere there's Papa John's. All right. Well, we had a local Papa John's that was giving away free pizzas. So, and it seemed to be random. Okay. Anything you put on the front end in a web page, you can just take the web browser, you hit one button, and you can see all of the code, right? So what we did was we took their website, we downloaded all the code, and they included everything on the front side. And we saw the algorithm that they were using to determine who got the free pizza. And it was based on the time that you ordered the pizza. So we figured out the exact times that triggered the free pizzas, and we got free pizzas for a week. Eventually somebody was nice enough to email them and tell them what we were doing, but for a while we got free pizzas every day. That's not something you should do. Don't ever do that. That's an example of why you want to keep all your security hidden on the back side. Yep.
For Windows devices, can't you do pretty much a web browser with a matter of 2 or 3 buttons at once?
Can you do what?
Windows devices.
Can you do what with 2 or 3 buttons?
You can open up the code behind
Yep.
how something works, and you can remove certain parts of it and kind of make it how it works with just a few buttons that anyone can press.
Yeah, it's one button. You push it, it'll show you all the code that's on their website. Any pictures you can download, it's really easy to make a fake web page. What other questions might you have? Digital forensics, security, computer science? Yeah?
You were in the military, right?
I wasn't in the military, I worked for the military. I was a government scientist. I did work in landmines and GPS information. That was before digital forensics. That was a different lifetime. Did you have some questions about working for the military?
I was going to ask you what branch.
What's that?
So I was going to ask you what branch you were in.
I wasn't in any. I worked for the Army as a scientist for a couple years, and I worked for the Navy for 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
For a group called Navo Oceano. I've done contract work on and off for the Air Force.
Well, thanks for your service.
I wasn't in the military. I was a scientist. I was a super nerd.
But still.
Thanks. What's up?
How many years of school did it take you to get?
To get what?
To get like where you are, like.
I was in school for like 20-something years. I didn't take the traditional route. I have a PhD. I'm Dr. Campbell, which means I spent about 4 or 5 years undergraduate school, 2 years getting a master's degree, and about 3 years getting a PhD. But I didn't necessarily go straight through. And you can do things in different time limits. But you don't need a PhD to do security or forensics. You just need some computer science training and the right certifications. Other questions I can answer? Information that can be deleted, how to get things back, how to hack into things. What would you like to know?